Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Crime Beat, Episode 4, Las Vegas, by A.C. Fuller, narrated by Emily Sutton-Smith. Chapter 1, Saturday. Cole's hands shot up to cover her mouth, a scream caught in her throat. The truffle pig fell, his bottle of iced tea shattering beside him on the oil-stained pavement. A man had emerged from a silver SUV and stopped 10 feet from the gas pump. He'd taken 4 large strides toward the assassin, then shot him once in the chest and once in the head. It happened in a surreal instant. Still sitting in the passenger seat of the stolen airport shuttle van, Cole froze. She stared at the blood that streamed slowly from the dead man's chest, pooling around the broken glass. Warren opened the door suddenly. "Wait," Cole said, grabbing his forearm. "No." He closed the door. 30-ish, the man who'd shot the truffle pig was tall and handsome in a black suit with a white T-shirt underneath. A large gold cross hung from his neck. After standing over his victim for only a moment, he slid into the back of the SUV before it pulled out of the gas station and turned right. The gas station attendant ran out of the store and stood over the truffle pig's body. A woman a few yards away filmed the scene on her phone, narrating like a reporter. Another woman spoke into her phone rapidly. Still another walked in circles around her car, talking to herself. Cole had seen plenty of crime scenes, plenty of dead bodies. She'd been to gruesome murder scenes within hours of the crimes, but she'd never seen anyone killed in front of her. It was all so fast, it didn't seem possible. The man they'd tracked from Washington, D.C. to Miami, then found only minutes before the fatal shot on Anna Diaz, had walked out of the gas station holding an iced tea, the same brand she drank. Now he was losing blood by the pint. He was gone, just like that. She'd never forget the sound of the gunshot, followed by the shattering glass. Never be able to unsee the pink brain matter splattered on the gas pump. Her mind went fuzzy, spinning, the gray static ready to take over. She pressed her feet into the floor to steady herself. "We have to follow. We'll be back in cell range as soon as we exit the park." She turned to Warren, whose eyes darted back and forth between the body and the SUV as it disappeared around a curve a couple 100 yards away. "We have to follow," she repeated. "I don't think they noticed when he opened the door, but I have to think that if they were following him, they noticed us following him as well." Warren shifted the van into gear and turned right, allowing it to drift out over the center line. "They're up there, maybe 5 cars ahead." "The hell?" Cole said. "I mean, you're a cop. What the hell is going on?" Warren opened his eyes wide. Steering with his knee, he pressed both hands into his face and let out a long breath. Cole had seen him do this before. It was his pressure release valve, his way of getting his emotions under control. Surely his mind was racing with the possibilities, as hers was. All he said was, "Cell signal?" "1 bar." She tried calling 911, but it wouldn't connect. "Gas station attendant probably called 911. There were enough people there that I'm sure someone called. You did the right thing telling me to stay in the car. Instinct was to run at the guy who fired. Without a weapon, he'd have taken me down. What the hell was I thinking?" He sighed. "When you get the bars, call Gabby." "Why?" "Just call her." They passed another gas station, then a series of signs for locations in southwest Florida, and finally a sign thanking them for visiting the park. The bars on Cole's phone moved from 1 to 2. She dialed Gabriela Rojas, Warren's former training officer who worked for the Joint Terrorism Task Force in New York City. Though they'd never met, Cole trusted her. Mostly because Warren trusted her, but also because of their shared loathing of Joey the Stallion Mazzolano. "Put it on speaker," Warren said as it rang. "Hello." Gabby answered right away, but sounded out of breath. Cole held the phone between them. Warren tilted his head, eyes still on the road.
Gabby, it's War Dog.
Hey, I'm jogging. What's up?
This morning the truffle pig killed Ana Diaz. A few minutes ago he was gunned down at a gas station in the Everglades. We're on the tail of the killers. I need your help. Fast.
Rojas breathed heavily into the phone, then said, Rob, seriously, what the hell are you doing?
Please, Gabby.
For a few moments, all Cole heard on the line was Gabby's breathing. When Gabby spoke at last, her voice was back to normal. I heard about Diaz right before I left for my run. What can I do?
That was hours ago.
I go on long runs.
The dude who shot the truffle pig looked like a professional. Plates on the SUV were Georgia.
He let the car drift left again, squinting to see the license plate number.
Hold on.
Waiting for a gap in traffic, he pulled out and passed 2 cars, then changed lanes so the airport shuttle was now 2 cars behind the SUV.
Got a pen?
Told you, I'm running, but I'll remember it.
Georgia plates.
Warren gave her the plate number.
Get back to me ASAP, okay?
I'm 2 miles from my house. It'll be 12 minutes. You can run 2 miles in 12 minutes? Cole asked. 10 minutes, but it'll take me an extra 2 to get upstairs. When they hung up, Cole dialed 911 and reported what they'd seen, recited the plate number, and assured the woman on the phone they weren't putting themselves at any risk by following it. They merged onto Interstate 75, heading north up the west coast of Florida. After a few miles, a black sedan overtook them, then pulled in front of them, still 2 cars back from the SUV.
Local police, Warren said. Undercover.
How can you tell? Cole asked. He pointed at the rear window.
See the bars between the front and back seats? And the 2 disc things that look like hockey pucks on the roof? Antennas.
Through the window, Cole saw heavy-duty crossbars that separated the front and back seats. She never would have noticed the black antennas had Warren not pointed them out. Why aren't they pulling them over?
Waiting for backup, probably. Likely got 3 calls in 5 minutes. They know these guys are armed and dangerous. Can't exactly blame them.
Cole grew uncomfortable as they rode in silence for what felt like an hour. It was probably 5 minutes. As a crime reporter, she'd spent most of her time either in the courthouse watching trials or trying to get police, witnesses, and suspects to talk, often by text or Twitter messages. A week ago, she'd yearned for excitement, anything to pull her from her routine and off Twitter. But now she was genuinely terrified. As ridiculous as it was, she kept imagining the SUV pulling over and the man hopping out and shooting her. They passed an exit dotted with fast food restaurants, and Cole broke the silence. I'm hungry. She hadn't eaten a bite since the half-bag of microwave popcorn at 2 a.m. in Little Havana. Warren said nothing. Cole's phone rang. It's Gabby. She held it to Warren as she accepted the call. Rob, Cole, you want the good news first or the bad? The good news, Cole said quickly. She needed something positive. Local police and FBI are all over the car. I don't know the details, but apparently the FBI was already on the SUV.
Wait, Warren said. If they were already on them, why'd they let them kill the truffle pig in broad daylight? That doesn't make any sense.
The line was quiet for a long moment. That I'm not sure about, Gabby said. Could be a lot of things, but let me finish. FBI is on them, and now local police are too.
Black sedan is tailing them, Warren said.
That was the good news? Cole asked impatiently.
Means you're off the hook, Gabby said.
Back away slowly from this thing, Rob. You too, Cole. Let the professionals handle it.
Warren sighed. Which brings you to the bad news?
Right. Plates were registered to a woman in Atlanta named Wendy Bluth. She's the aunt of Peter Bluth of Las Vegas, who runs Club Blue and some other night spots. Warren let his foot off the gas slowly, as though all the energy had drained from his foot. A line of cars changed lanes and pulled around him. "What's Club Blue?" Cole asked. "One of the hottest off-strip clubs in Vegas, and it's owned by Sonny Lee." Gabby paused, allowing the name to hang in the air as though it should mean something to Cole. It didn't. Either they're NVM or they stole a car from an NVM member's aunt. Would be a hell of a coincidence. "Sonny Lee?" Warren asked. His face held an odd expression, eyes wide, lips pursed, jaw tight. Cole couldn't tell if he was shocked, confused, or afraid. Maybe it was all three. "What's NVM?" Cole asked. "And who's Sonny Lee?" "I gotta go," Gabby said. "But get the hell away from this thing, Rob. I'm serious. I had to press a friend in the Florida FBI to get the info. And anyway, I gotta go." The call ended. Warren's face went blank. He was only going 40 miles an hour. Car after car passed them on the left side of the 2-lane highway. "Who's Sonny Lee?" Cole asked. "And what the hell is NVM?" Chapter 2. Cole put a hand on Warren's knee. "You're only going 40. He glanced at the speedometer and accelerated. She wasn't much for physical contact, so she was surprised by her own action. The ridiculousness of their situation had hit her all at once. What the hell were they doing? "Rob, pull over." Warren gave her a side-eyed glance, but didn't reply. "Gabby said it. Local police and the FBI are tailing those guys. We're in western Florida in a stolen airport shuttle van. The story we were chasing is now—" She raised her hands like she was throwing confetti. "Out in the world. We're nowhere. This is out of our hands." He ignored her, seemed to be in some kind of trance. "Rob, pull the hell over." He snapped back to attention as she waved at the turnout. He took it, stopping the van behind a tour bus that was letting passengers out in front of the restrooms. "I want you to tell me what NVM is, but first—" Cars sped by on the highway. Tourists emerged from the tour bus. Yesterday, she'd argued for Warren to give her one more day before releasing the map she'd photographed in Michael Ragg's storage unit. She'd been selfish and wrong, and she knew it. But she couldn't say it aloud. "A day." Warren's words broke the silence. "You're thinking about the day." "Might have made a difference if we'd released the map, like you said." "It wouldn't have." He shrugged. "It might now." Cole recoiled internally. Every fiber of her being guarded Scoops jealously. Even now, when she had to let it go, something in her didn't want to. "You know I'm right," Warren continued. "You want me to make you do it, but I won't. You want—" "I get it, okay? Just—" She squeezed her eyes tight. "Give me a minute to think." As much as it hurt, she had to release the map. But other things were nagging at her, things that made her uncertain, paralyzed. Someone had planted the articles linking them to the murders. There was no evidence, and she didn't think the articles would make a splash. But still, who had planted the stories? And why? Plus, Marty Goldberg's death was still fresh in her mind. Just a day after meeting with them, he'd ordered men to track them to Miami. At least, she thought so. She'd been calling to confirm this when he'd been found dead in the Potomac River. None of it made sense. Even with all the unanswered questions, she couldn't justify holding on to the map. Opening the Signal app on her phone, she created a new message. Next, she attached the photo of the map decorated with pushpins in 9 cities: New York, Washington, D.C., Miami, Las Vegas, San Francisco, Los Angeles, London, Paris, and Tokyo. She wrote a brief message explaining its origin. Finally, she attached additional photos from the unit which, though they contained no new information, provided context. She sent the message and put her phone on her lap. "It's done."
"Who'd you send it to?"
"John Baker, crime reporter at the New York Times. He's my biggest competitor. Well, he was my biggest competitor when I was at the Sun."
"Why him?"
"If I won't get credit for the scoop, I want to be as far away as possible. Sent it through Signal." She held up her phone so he could see the app's icon. "End-to-end encryption, untraceable. It's the gold standard for reporters who need encryption. Most don't, but—" Warren nodded his approval.
"You trust him?"
Cole leaned back and her shoulders dropped. Her conscience was finally clear. "Can't stand the bastard. Arrogant as hell. But he's gone to jail to protect sources, multiple times. He'll get it out there, and it'll have the weight of the paper of record behind it."
"Why'd you have me pull over?"
Warren asked. The tourists were still spilling out of the tour bus, some taking pictures, some sipping bottled water or staring at phones. "We needed to slow down, get some distance. We were too close. I was too close. With the manifesto and now the police and the FBI on those guys, this thing is about to get huge."
"Or it might be over by the end of the day," Warren said. "The FBI will nab those guys soon, interrogate them. I'm assuming they hired the truffle pig, waited for him to kill Myers and Diaz, then took him out to cover their tracks, planning for someone else to make the next kill like Rag made the first one. But not if the FBI gets them talking."
Warren smiled strangely, a look Cole couldn't figure out. "What?"
"It just hit me. This could be over by the end of the day, and the fact that we were there might have caused it. We aren't sitting there watching. Maybe no one gets the plates. Maybe the SUV disappears."
"Maybe." Cole wasn't entirely convinced. "Gabby said the FBI was already trailing the SUV. Doesn't make any sense."
"No, it doesn't."
She crossed her legs in the seat and turned toward him. "What's NVM?"
"New Vegas Mafia."
"I probably should have known that."
"No reason you would. Like the name says, they're new."
"Your foot eased off the gas when Gabby mentioned them. Fear?" Warren frowned. He didn't like the fact that she could read him. "It's not just you," she continued. "Humans are hardwired to avoid danger. It's why we're pessimistic as a species. We're actually pretty good at avoiding trouble. Some researchers think it's why we took over the Earth in short order. We thrive at avoiding danger, avoiding predators. Your response tells me those dudes are predators." Warren grimaced as if to object, but shook it off.
"In the 80s and 90s, the last holdouts of the Vegas mob got taken down. Big business moved in. Corporations took over. All that shit from Goodfellas and Casino was real."
He shrugged.
"Mostly. But criminals always find a way, and NVM sprang from those ashes. Some are cousins and nephews of the old mobsters, but the new thing is less family-oriented. They let outsiders in, so it's more diverse. Women, non-Italians. A real rainbow coalition of organized crime."
"The mob is getting more diverse? That's sweet." Warren chuckled.
"Seriously, though, it's not an Italian thing anymore, and it doesn't resemble the mob as most people think of it. It's more like a loosely held-together criminal family that exists about 80% online."
"Online?"
"You know how in all the movies bosses won't talk on phones or use emails or anything?"
Cole nodded.
NVM is a dozen steps ahead of law enforcement when it comes to technology. They embrace tech instead of avoiding it."
"Drop gangs?"
Warren nodded. "Not only that, they have their own cryptocurrency, advanced facial recognition software in their clubs, stuff most people won't even think about."
"Like what?"
"One I heard about? They leveraged a few people at the DMV for driver's license numbers and photos. It's hooked into their facial recognition software, so they always know who's in their clubs."
Seriously?
Gives them leverage against everyone in their clubs, especially when cops or others in law enforcement are stupid enough to end up there. Drugs, prostitutes. He shook his head. They're tracking every single person who comes in from the moment they enter, and they're using every piece of information they can to screw you.
Cole shook her head, half impressed, half in disbelief. And Sunny Lee? Who's he?
She's the bastard daughter of one of the old mobsters. Birth name's Sophia, but they call her Sunny because she was always happy. A little ray of sunshine. Her dad got locked up. Mom gave her up for adoption, and she was adopted by a Chinese family in Vegas. Bankers, I think. Got the last name Lee and eventually followed in her father's footsteps. They say she was one of the driving forces in creating the NVM. They're young, tech-savvy, and utterly ruthless.
And taking over Las Vegas?
No, those times are gone, and they're not coming back. When big business takes over, not even organized crime can compete. And that's allowing for a distinction between the two that doesn't always exist. NVM is picking up all the pieces, consolidating the criminal side hustles.
The tour bus driver emerged and began corralling the people back into the bus. Assuming you're right, Cole said, and the FBI stops those guys, interrogates them, either they get info that stops this thing, or, more likely, they don't. Either way, we should head to Vegas.
Why?
Because that's where the next murder's gonna be.
You don't know that.
Within minutes of sending out the map, her journalistic instincts had kicked back in. She no longer had that piece of the scoop, but she had to keep chasing. I feel it. And even if I'm wrong, that's where the story is headed. Come on, we gotta get rid of this van. You hop out and pop the hood. Pretend to look at the engine. I'll get us a lift. Before Warren could respond, Cole got out of the van and jogged up to a young couple straggling behind the group of tourists. Where's the bus heading? The couple glanced at each other. Back to the hotel, the woman offered, looking over Cole's shoulder at the airport shuttle van. Were you on the tour? Nah. Looks like our shuttle van needs to be taken in for service, Cole lied. Sometimes she feared how easily she lied.
There were a few empty seats on the bus, the man offered.
The woman gave him a cold look. Cole wasn't sure whether it was because he was flirting or because he was offering up seats on their tour bus to strangers on the side of the road. You'd need to talk to the driver, the woman said. Cole waved at Warren, who shut the hood and began walking over. She turned back to the couple. That's exactly what I'll do. Chapter 3. The plane had been in the air for half an hour when Cole gave in and decided to pay for the in-flight Wi-Fi. She needed to know what people were saying about the shootings. The tour bus had taken them to a hotel. From there, they'd taken a taxi to the Naples airport, where she'd dipped into savings to purchase 2 one-ways to Las Vegas. Warren fought her on it at first. He wanted to get back to his daughter in New York and work on getting back into the NYPD. But she suspected he wanted to chase this crime just as badly as she did. She'd assured him she'd tucked away enough from Matt's death benefit to cover them for a while. Plus, she'd be able to make money writing freelance any time she needed. Warren was a big part of getting close to the story. She needed him. His opposition melted at her merest pushback, lending truth to her suspicions. He was addicted to the chase, just like her. On the tour bus, Cole heard whispers about the assassinations and the manifesto. Snippets of news coverage had been playing on the TV in the hotel lobby. The airport had been no different, though all the TVs were muted. Now she needed Wi-Fi to continue tracking the story. She tapped in her credit card number and opened Twitter.
I thought you weren't going to buy the Wi-Fi,
Warren said. She gave him a guilty frown. I can't not know what's happening. She'd stuck Warren with the center seat, a harsh move given his long legs, but he hadn't complained. One-on-one, he could be surly, but in group settings, he turned on the charm and became affable, so he didn't seem to mind sitting next to the stranger in the aisle seat. In fact, he'd been chatting with the guy since they'd boarded. Cole had been leaning on the window since the moment she'd shoved her bag under the seat in front of her, silently fighting the urge to get online. Warren frowned. What happened to, I need to sleep, clear my head? What happened to that? I have to admit what I am. He frowned his eyebrows at her, amused. And what's that? A junkie. A news junkie. You know you want to see what's going on, too. As if reading her mind, the man in the aisle seat asked, You heard about the 9 murders, 9 cities thing? He was an old man in a collarless button-down. His accent was Indian, but his vowels were round, like he'd lived in the Midwest most of his life. A long gray beard and a purple turban completed the look. Cole shrugged, pretending not to hear him. The last thing she needed was some random guy's thoughts on the case. Little bit? Warren's eyes narrowed when he answered, his affability briefly gone before it came back again in a flash. Damn shame what's happening. What do you think about it? Cole shot him a scolding look, then turned her attention back to her phone. The man beamed, clearly glad to have been asked. I've got a theory. I'm no detective. I'm in insurance sales, actually, only a year from retirement. But I've watched a lot of CSI, Law and Order, and every single episode of Monk, so I know how they think. And you've got a theory? Warren smirked at Cole. Let's hear it. Warren was messing with her, punishing her for being too weak to stay off Twitter. She wanted to read stories from journalists, professionals, official sources, and he wanted to subject her to a random theory from an aging insurance salesman. Talk loud, Warren added, so my friend can hear you. He nodded toward Cole. The man leaned in conspiratorially. Warren put his seat back to make more room. Cole turned her phone face down on the tray table. I was in Miami last week, he began. Stayed only a few blocks from where the shooting happened. That part of your theory? Cole asked. No, just saying. Cole rolled her eyes. Be nice, Warren whispered. Aren't journalists supposed to talk to real people? She sighed. What's your theory, Mr. Hassan? But call me Gil. Top life insurance salesman in Nevada, 2015, 2016, and 2018. What happened in 2017? Cole's voice was still full of snark. Let the man tell us his theory, Warren said. Okay, so you know the Unabomber? Gil asked. He had a political ideology and killed the people he believed to be against it, right? Warren nodded. Batshit crazy, wasn't he? Not really. He was a Harvard grad, mathematics, smart as hell. The two aren't mutually exclusive, Warren said. Cole didn't know a lot about the Unabomber case. She'd been a teenager when his manifesto had been published. Wasn't he anti-technology and industrialization? Cole asked. These guys aren't anti-globalization. They're against immigration, global corporations, the diversification of the U.S. and other countries. They seem to have a beef with the financial system and... Can't really blame them for that last one, Warren interjected. Cole had looked into their ideology more closely as the tour bus drove from the edge of the park to the hotel in Naples. The key piece of their ideology is what they call the Great Replacement. It's a theory that started in France, and, essentially, it says that the elites in France are conspiring to replace the white population with non-European immigrants. It's an intellectually fancy version of white supremacy, but members of their group in India and Japan are using the same theory against minorities in their own countries as well. But it doesn't stop there. Like I said, financial system, corporations, etc. It's complicated. Anyway, not the same as the Unabomber. Gil gave Warren a look as if to say, what's her deal? You seem to know a lot about this. Anyway, I wasn't saying it was the same ideal.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?